So you guys have been in here for the brazing, so you're already somewhat acclimated to the room. But just a couple things about this space with the next steps of this project. We're going to get into welding in the welding corner with the welding sessions next week and the following week. That's not what we're going to deal with today, but we will certainly be using that area quite a bit. The other tools that you'll be using for this project are the slip roll, the belt and disc sander, the bench grinder. Some of y'all might use the horizontal bandsaw and the chop saw possibly, but all the cuts I think that we're going to be able to make are with the shear and the bolt cutters, but we do have a way to cut metal with those machines, so you might get into some of that. What we won't use are the shear that Steven's leaning up against, the brake here. Actually, we might use the sandblaster depending on your project. You might end up using the media blaster, maybe. Oxyacetylene, we're not going to get into this. This is an awesome rig, but it's arguably by far the most dangerous piece of equipment we have because it utilizes a very flammable and volatile gas, acetylene, for the application of heat to what you're doing. But if you get into bending metal and you're just like, man, this is my jam, this is what I want to do, I'm going to continue on in sculpture, I am happy to show this to you, but it's more of a one-on-one or a small group demo. It's not something I demo for the whole class in Sculpture 1, but folks that go through Sculpture 2 and then come into Sculpture 3 and they're like, I really want to see the oxyacetylene, I want to get into that, we end up doing it in small groups in there. So I'll talk a little bit more about heat and bending, but the majority of what you guys are going to be bending for this project is going to be cold bends. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways we can do that, both manually or organically, as well as more controlled and mathematical bends. So just a couple things about that. What you need for cold bending is clamping and leverage. You have to have both of those, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, so. You know, if I were to grab the 1/8 inch and I hold it with my hands, I've got the clamping, yeah? And the leverage is just the strength of my hands and my arms, yeah? Do you guys think I can bend this cold? I see some nods a little bit, yeah. I can definitely bend that. It's mild steel. I've got somewhat pretty good hand strength. I can do that pretty easily, right? So just doing this, you know, you guys, and this was what, like an 8-inch piece of 1/8 inch, and I'm able to, and of course once I get to the end I don't have the leverage anymore, and so I can't bend it quite as much, but up here, because I've got a few inches of leverage, I can continue to manipulate that piece as much as I want to cold, and this is the size that you're going to be scaling up your half scale models to. Okay, so just to give you an idea. 3/16, same thing, clamping and leverage. What do you guys think?
Barely.
Just barely? Yeah, and then once you start, you can, you know, kind of get it going a little bit more. 1/4 inch? There's no way. Yeah, I don't think I've been able to bend it yet. I'm not going to hurt myself. I can't do it. So, you know, stepping it up by a 16th each time starts to kind of go up, you know, exponentially on what you can do just barehanded. Even with gloves on, you know, it's not really changing anything about those two factors of clamping and leverage, right? But if I take the 1/4 inch to a different clamp that's not my hands, right? And I put it in the vise instead. You think I can bend it now? I see some nods. Yeah, why? Have you guys ever bent metal before? It's just maybe common sense.
Yeah,
what you've been able to, you know, do in your life, right? So now that 1/4 inch piece that I wasn't able to bend with just bare hands and you know, my hands as clamps, now I can do it barehanded in a different type of clamp. And without much leverage on the other side. But because it's not going anywhere in that vise, I've really got it in there well. But it was up, you know, 5-6 inches, right? Let's say it's up a couple of inches. Do you think I can bend that? No, I don't think so.
Not without another tool.
Not without another tool. Yes, exactly. So right now, there's not a whole lot I can do there without hurting myself. You know, maybe if somebody had a gun to my head, maybe I could do it. I don't know. My adrenaline would start pumping. What did you say? So yes, without another tool, there's not a whole lot I can do. So down here, if you don't mind panning down here, Shelby, are a lot of the manual tools for us to use. Different pipes, hammers, jigs. We'll get into some of that. But what I just grabbed was a hammer and just a piece of tube, okay? So I can slip this into my 1/4 inch, and now what have I just increased? Leverage, yeah. I still have the same clamp, but now I've got the leverage to be able to bend what I couldn't do with my hands. And likewise, you can't just use blunt force and keep going with something, right? I'm just showing you guys some real basic ways to start moving with the steel without hurting yourself. I think, you know, safety glasses, gloves, definitely want to make sure you're geared up with that respect. But for the most part, because this is cold, there's not a whole lot at stake. You know, as long as you're protecting your eyes and your hands, you don't have to worry about heat, right? So clamping and leverage. And now, what gets tricky, I guess, with the pipe demonstration is that now I've got something bent, right? And let's say I want to bend it right here, and I'm not able to do it by hand. I can't slip my pipe in there because, right, it's not going to pass by that curve. So I could get a slightly bigger version maybe and span the curve and get down just a little bit lower, you know, problem solving there. But another tool we have that isn't super, you know, high tech, and I have made these over the years, are these bending forks. And they can either be put into a vise, however you'd like to put it in, like this, and then you use the material, right, to bend. But if you only have a short piece, then you only have so much leverage, versus putting the piece into the vise and then using this as your leverage to be able to bend it, right? So right now I'm pinching the piece at a very particular spot that I want to bend, and then doing that number, I can start to get the curve that I want. If it's a real organic curve, thinking about some of y'all's projects that you're not working on some mathematical derivative curve, and I'm just looking for some, and this is, that's what I just called it. I don't even know if it's called that. Okay. It seems like a good, yeah.
It's a great name.
What is?
It's a great name.
It's a great name. Okay, good. Yeah. If you guys come up with a better one, I'm all about it. But yeah, it's a telephone pole. All right, a bending telephone pole. I like that.
It's just Maya's project.
Yeah. And there's different sizes. Like this one, I have a much thinner pinch point than that side, and then we have a couple others down here that you can, like I said, either put into the vise and bend around, or use it as the actual tool with your piece in the vise. And it all hinges on the vise. This big vise is awesome because you can really put some force and some leverage into this, and it's not going anywhere. The little vices are not quite as robust, not quite as strong, but they're going to be able to do most of what y'all want to do as well. And the beauty of this is that it's very easily removed and set anywhere. As long as you can clamp it to the table, you can really have a vise anywhere you want. These can be taken outside. Please bring them back inside when you're done. We could even take these out to the wooden tables, even though I said no to brazing out on the wooden tables. I know that only so many people are going to be able to be in this room working at a time. And so if we need to spill out into the main room and take vices with us, that's totally fine. Those tables will be a little bit more wobbly than these awesome heavy-duty metal tables, but you can still do your bending the way you want. Questions so far? All right. When it comes to the organic kind of bending that I was talking about, that's when having your mat with the shapes you want at the scale you want is really going to play. So if I'm just sitting here and like, and then take it and kind of set it up to my brown paper, oh, I need to move it just a little bit more right here, and then put it back in here and use the bending forks and, you know, just bend it ever so slightly. This is where the back and forth and having your mat is really going to come into play. The brown paper is nice because you can roll it up, you can keep it at your station over there. But if you need to use chalk or draw something on the floor, that's totally fine. If it's a bigger shape, when we move up into the final scale, if you need to just draw on the floor or draw on the table, that's totally fine. If you have a very particular shape, whether it's mathematically derived or not, you can literally just draw it on the table like that and bend, as you need it, and then you just erase it when you're done. Okay, there's no problem there. Please don't use a Sharpie, even though we can clean the Sharpie. It's just easier to clean up the chalk after it's all said and done. Let's see. Making sure I go through all this and don't miss anything. So another version of the telephone pole is this right here. This is meant to go into the vise. And then what I can do here is, yes, it's a much larger pinch point, but I can basically localize my bends like that, and then I can start to turn it up, right? And I'm gonna have to hold it a little bit so it doesn't slip out. But I can start to do maybe more gradual arcs and start to think about the third dimension and the other plane, and that's a nice pinch point. But you don't need this tool. Let's say somebody's here at this station using this tool and like, oh, that's exactly what I need. You can kind of do the same thing just in the vise. If you open up your vise, you're really just pinching it into, right, an area. You want to make sure that it's in far enough that it doesn't slip out in the middle of your bend. And that's probably going to happen a little bit anyway as you learn how to pinch things in here as you start to bend. So just, again, be mindful of your safety gear, be mindful of who is with you, around you while you're working, and make sure that they are aware of what you're doing and are also geared up with the safety equipment. Just be mindful of your surroundings, I think, with respect to that. Okay, I think I'm good so far. I'm gonna move to, you could go ahead and cut the video now so we